Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/am I the butthole. So if you fancy judging if these people are big old gaping buttholes or not, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. I need to grow up. Okay, first post. Am I the butthole? My wife thinks I am controlling. This is pretty short. My wife, 33F, and I, 34M, were having a disagreement on the weekend, and she told me to post it to Reddit. My wife likes to travel, and she works out of town a lot. This means I stay home and look after the kids and house. I asked her if she could do a better job communicating plans, such as texting me when she arrives at her destination and when she is leaving. That is very baseline, very basic. I would expect most people would be like, that's fine, I will do that, no problem. She told me this is a red flag and controlling. I mean, I think it just shows that the OP cares that their wife is arriving safe. I find it a red flag that she thinks that's too much to ask. I do not track her movements with apps or anything. I strictly would like a I have arrived safely text or an I am leaving X and headed home. The argument started when I mentioned that last time she was out of town 8 hours away, she left to drive back and did not message me. She showed up at 2 a.m. and woke me up by knocking on the window since the doors were locked. I asked her why she didn't send a text at supper time saying that she was coming home, and she said it wouldn't matter as I would have been in bed. I understand that, but I feel that it's a courtesy to let your spouse know these things. So Reddit, am I the butthole? Of course not. I think that is just one of those very simple asks from a relationship, which most people who are reasonable would be like, yeah, that's fine. Because obviously if she's doing 8-hour drives as well, and she's not texting you telling you when she's leaving or just letting you know she's left in any way, shape or form, how are you supposed to know if she was to get into a horrific crash and was then in hospital? You could then go a whole day not realizing that something's wrong because you think that she's, still where she was before. So no, I don't think it's too much to ask. And not only that, but it's like, it saves you sitting up worrying, especially if you're expecting her to arrive at a destination and you're waiting to hear that she's got there okay. I think that's very, bare minimum to ask of somebody. I really genuinely find it a bit of a red flag that she doesn't want to do that. Why does she not want to do that? I'd be like, well, are you not going where you're saying you're going or something? Like, what's the deal here? So then OP updates within the same post saying, Update 1, I did not expect this to get this big this quick. Thank you all for the comments and upvotes. One of the frequently asked questions was about keys. We live in an area where we only lock the door when we go to bed. We very rarely take keys with us since the deadbolt has a keypad. I find that so peculiar that people don't lock the door during the day. Why? If I am in my house, the door is locked. If I am out of my house, the door is locked. I find that so weird. The batteries had died, and generally, if I know she will be home, I leave the door unlocked. I will update once again once I get a chance to show her the post. Update 2. Showed her the post, and the response is, I asked her if how I typed the story was reasonable and fair. She agreed it was. She said that she will try to communicate better, as it is clearly not egregious what I am asking. Yeah, obviously not. I don't suspect that she is hiding anything or projecting, nor did I press her about that. Thank you everyone for the comments, advice, and validation. Sorry this doesn't have a juicy ending, but I guess that's real life. We are going to move forward in a positive way, and she is going to make a better effort to communicate. Hopefully, there is no update 3 with a big laughy face. Fingers crossed not. So then down in the comments, Pete Satastic says, bet she is regretting asking you to put it on Reddit now. Hey, not the butthole. I'm guessing that's because literally every single comment was like, yeah, no, she's being weird. And then Adele Lucas says, because all of us are thinking it's normal and common courtesy, what is she hiding? Yeah, so clearly everyone thought the same as me. Like, it's a bit of a red flag, she won't do that. I visit friends around the country and they visit me. We all send a got home safe text. Precisely. And then always Gypsy says, I know, right? I do it with just friends. And when me and my fiance didn't even live together. I worked late out of town a lot as well. And even knowing she'd be asleep when I sent the message, I still would text multiple times of leaving work now, hope you're sleeping well, made it home safe, love you, etc. She never asked me to, just expressed how much it meant that I was not only thinking of her, but that she was reassured when she woke up that I was at home sleeping and not dead in a ditch somewhere. I can't imagine being married with kids and not doing such a simple thing. Yeah, exactly. I find it extremely odd. Like, they didn't want to do that. Yeah, it would make me think, well, what are you hiding that you don't want to do that? But maybe I'm just a paranoid little cretin. Next post, am I the butthole for not telling my literal classmate that I am married? Hi guys, I'm almost 30 and started university again. I am married. I needed help with something and some guy from my class told me he can learn with me if I want to. We texted each other and it was only casual stuff, not flirty or anything at all. And he is also younger than me, so I didn't even think about anything weird at all. We met so he could explain to me a few things. I was also happy that I found a friend. So, when I was at his place, he suddenly asked me about my relationship status, and I told him I'm married. Dude suddenly got weird. What a surprise! Told me he doesn't want to learn with me anymore and I should go home. He blocked me and ignored me in class. He is still ignoring me and I don't understand what I did wrong. He was literally only helping you with work because he wanted to get in your pants. That is so disappointing. Like, if this is the way he tries to pull, he's going to be lonely forever. He glances at me weirdly to let me know that he looks down on me. Oh. I'd be like, as soon as he walks past my desk, sticking my leg out. Look down at me now while you're on the floor. I'm so sick of this dude. Am I the butthole now? No, obviously not. This guy is probably a little bit of an incel, methinks. Ugh, why? Why did they do this? Why? So in the comments, Marsican Bear says, you have identified a loser in the wild. No need to dwell on it. You did nothing wrong. Precisely. And then actual Trevor, I wonder what fake Trevor is up to then. The taxonomy of this particular loser is a young adult male who thinks that literally any female attention means that she's into him. It's possibly the broadest classification of young adult males. Honestly, he's going to learn a harsh lesson. He's going to go one of two ways. He'll realise that, this way of trying to connect with people is not the best way of trying to connect with people, or he'll go down the full incel route. Either or, who knows? Hopefully, it will be the first one. Next post, am I the butthole for wanting to leave my husband after my miscarriage? Okay, so trigger warning for talks of miscarriage. If that's something you're not comfortable with, then dip out now or fast forward to the timestamp I put on the screen. I, 34F, have been married to my husband, 43M, for 3 years, together 5. His 3 kids, aged 18 to 21, live with us too. We've been struggling with infertility pretty much since we got married. Last year was a really rough year for us because I got laid off from my tech job and a couple weeks later he had a stroke, flipping heck. During his stroke, I took on everything because he literally couldn't, and that was fine. We took a pretty major hit financially and depleted our savings and racked up quite a bit of debt. Fast forward to June this year, we started going to a fertility clinic. I was working full time, my husband was doing much better and had made about a 90% recovery. But I was still doing literally everything for the house: cleaning, finances, letting the kids use my car for school and work, cooking, etc. Don't like that. And any time I asked for help, it was either dismissed or turned into an argument where he'd shut me out, give me the silent treatment, then have the audacity to expect later that night with no apology or accountability. Yeah, that would not be happening. Be like, sorry, those privileges are closed, as are these legs. Nothing's a bigger turn-off than someone who won't do a lift a finger around the house. Ew, no. I finally got pregnant late May, but lost it 6 weeks later. That experience broke me. I didn't get out of bed for a week. I was in pain, I wasn't feeding myself, and I was miserable. During the roughly 4 weeks I was out of work and just depressed, he didn't do a single thing around the house, let the dishes and laundry pile up, and basically carried on as if life was fine. Oh yeah, in the bin with him. Absolutely, the sin bin, the one that is on fire. One night in particular, he asked if I was okay, and I told him no, and that I was in pain and hadn't eaten, and he just got on his phone. Didn't even offer to get me food. To make it worse, when I finally got up and said I'm making myself something, he asked me to make something for him too. No. Knowing I was still bleeding and in pain. Give him a shit sandwich. It took me a few more months before I kind of woke up from the depression of losing my baby and began seeing just how emotionally neglectful he'd really been this whole year. Not to mention the financial abuse, withholding that he was 15k behind on taxes and lying about having money for our vacation, only to have nothing and make me max out my credit cards to cover it. So, now we're filing bankruptcy on top of all of this. I decided to have a very serious conversation with the ultimatum of marriage counselling, and he completely dismissed everything I had to say, said I was overreacting, that the financial stuff wasn't a big deal, and he refused marriage counselling. That's the soft version, but after that convo was the first time I seriously considered just packing up and leaving. Honestly, it sounds like he does nothing for you. I absolutely would not blame you for packing up and leaving. In fact, I'd be the one there going, go on, girl, get gone, get him out. After nearly 2 weeks of silent treatment, lots of hurtful comments and defensiveness, he finally caved and apologised and agreed to do counselling, even though he said he won't like it. So he only agreed after trying to manipulate you, after trying to silent treat you and stonewall you into manipulating you into not doing things and, bending to his whim. I'm not sure why you're bothering, my love. I really am not. I thought his apology was genuine. Why? And as soon as I kissed him and said I felt better, he immediately asked for S. So, now I feel like he's only sexually motivated, but not because he actually cares about how much he's hurt and neglected me. So even though he's agreed to counselling, I feel like I don't even want to work on this relationship anymore. But I also feel guilty because he's a good person, goes to work every day. He's not a good person though, is he? Doesn't cheat. That is the bare minimum, my love. What? But he's the definition of emotionally unavailable and neglectful. He's worse than that. He's financially manipulative too. And he's not emotionally neglectful, he's physically neglectful. He left the house to turn into a cesspit when you were poorly for 4 weeks, and off your feet, understandably so. And he just left everything to pile up. So he's a little more than just a little emotionally neglectful and unavailable. I think this OP has the blinkers on a tad. I've recently realised he's a dismissive avoidant for those who know about attachment theory. So, am I the a-hole for wanting to give up without trying to work on the relationship more? I would argue you've tried. You've already tried, and the only reason he's agreeing to it now is because you finally didn't back down. He's basically going to try to manipulate you again into doing what he wants. Doesn't sound like he's prepared to take counselling seriously. I would get rid of him, because as soon as the shite hit the fan, you were there for him, but when it goes the other way round, he wasn't there for you one iota. Absolutely not. Honestly, life is far too short to be spending time and putting this much effort into somebody who's already showed you where they see you. Believe them and leave. So down in the comments, T. McKeldin says, not the butthole, leave and be done with him. And then Not the Bad One says, and be done with this adult-age children too. That's a point. They're living in the house too, and they didn't help once to help keep the house tidy whilst, all this was going on with OP. Nowhere does OP mention where they've done anything to help out around the house or contribute to the household in any way. At last but not least, don't have any children with this man. He's not going to change. He's showing you who he is in living colour. And if you have to beg for some common decency and love from him, you are doomed to be miserable if you stay married to him. Precisely. What's going to happen if you have a kid with this dude and then you end up having to have something like a traumatic emergency cesarean? You know, maybe you're off your feet. Maybe you get an infection. Maybe you're poorly after giving birth for whatever reason. So is he going to be there for the baby whilst you can't be? Or is he going to make you drag your ill and injured ass around the house trying to do everything and, end up with some prolonged or lifelong illness or ailment because he never wants to give you a chance to recover? And the thing is, when there is a baby involved, it's not like you can just say, well, I'll deal with it later. If he isn't dealing with it, unfortunately, that means the OP would have to then scoop it all up and do it themselves, because you can't just sit a child in a corner for 4 weeks and go, I'll see to them later. And I mean, a normal cesarean section recovery is supposed to be 6 weeks, although most blokes don't give the women the chance to actually take the 6 weeks recovery. But still, and there can be complications on top of that. Okay, last one for the day then. Let me scooch on in closer. I seem to have drifted away. I like to have my legs up and crossed on like a box that's underneath my desk, because I can't sit like a normal person apparently, but very slowly and gradually that means that my legs kind of naturally just push my office chair, which obviously has wheels on it, further and further away from the desk. So, would I be the butthole for reporting a male nurse who is making me uncomfortable? I, 27F, have been in the hospital for a few days. There is a nurse, 20s I've had during the day who keeps flirting. Ew, no, that straight away that's wrong as hell. We are from the same ethnicity and he only speaks to me in our native language. I assume so people around can't understand. Probably, because if he's being really inappropriate, yeah. The first time we met, he asked if I was married. I said no. He asked about a boyfriend, and I said no to that as well. He then said, wow, how are you so beautiful, yet single? I just laughed it off, but I felt uncomfortable about it. Yeah, so you would. My family came to see me, and the nurse introduced himself, and they liked him because he could communicate with them. My parents don't speak English well. My parents made a joke about setting us up together. Don't flip and encourage it! What are you doing? He was like, I would love to be set up with your pretty girl. Blech. And my parents laughed. Earlier today, he said, it looks like you will be discharged soon. Can I have your number? I want to take you out on a date once you're out of here. I'm approved by your parents. Ugh, yikes. I said sorry, but I'm not interested. Then he was like, come on, give me a chance. Don't be like that. There are far too many injectable poisons in this place for you to be talking to me like that. He kept pushing, and I just said, okay, I'll think about it as a way to get him to leave me alone. See, I understand doing that, but I also hate that women have to do that because I feel it gives them the green light to get weirder. Although saying no seems to give them the green light to get violent, so how do we win? I've been feeling uncomfortable my whole hospital stay, but I don't want to cause a job loss, especially in this economy. Should I report him for this? Yeah. It's not your fault if he loses his job for being inappropriate. It's his fault. We are far too forgiving and we need to start letting people feel the consequences of their own friggin' actions. My goodness. If he was so concerned about his job and keeping one in this economy, then he wouldn't be acting like an absolute creep. So, down in the comments, LMAONA says, not the butthole. Healthcare worker here, please report it. You're definitely not the only patient he's done this to. If he's a newer employee, you may be the first, but definitely not the last. And honestly, he's probably also targeted his co-workers. And the fact that he spoke in your native language, knowing then that no one else would know that he was being a creep to you, is so insidious. That said, sexual harassment among co-workers is rarely taken seriously in the medical field. Yeah, but it does get taken seriously when it's against patients though. So I would definitely, if you want a way, OP, to make yourself feel better about obviously reporting them and not feel so guilty, think about the amount of this person's co-workers you're going to save from his weirdness and uncomfortableness at the least, possible actual abuse at the most. The number of times I, as well as other females, have been harassed by male co-workers is insane, though it is often written off by upper management, who are very often men. Surprise, surprise, honestly. And I hate it as well because there is such a large portion of men that are just really gross like this, and it makes all the ones that are really good, it makes us have to tar everyone with the same brush because you don't know who's going to be a creep. They all put on such a nice guy nice guy appearance at the start, and then all of a sudden, bam, all of a sudden they've cornered you in the stock room and there is no escape. Reports by patients are often taken more seriously, as at that point the hospital is being opened up to possible lawsuits. Precisely, the hospital will listen as soon as their pockets and their money are threatened. And you'd be doing everyone a huge favour. If he just complimented you once or twice, that would be different, though still inappropriate. But come on, give me a chance. Don't be like that. And also the fact of, I'm going to take you out because I have your parents' permission. It's like, you don't have a say in this, woman. So you better listen, because I've already ran it by your parents. You don't have a say. Ugh, creepy. Is where he very much crosses the line. He knew you weren't interested and didn't care. He crossed that boundary willingly. Someone like that should not be in the profession, and anyone who doesn't care about even the most basic boundaries, especially in a profession where they work with vulnerable populations, is dangerous. Precisely, it makes me think, and again it makes me so sad for the guys out there that are really good and would never do anything like this, because unfortunately there are a lot of guys who have been told by society that they can just take what's theirs, and that's why they have this attitude. And then it tars everyone with the same brush. And I do feel really sad for that, because that must feel really gross, being tarred with that brush, when you know that you'd never do something like that. There are no winners here, is there really? Anyway, that's going off a little bit too far into arguments and what have you on society, and I don't think we need to get into all that, do we, today? We'd be here forever. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for today. I have got a really fun idea for a Halloween video, in a way. Okay, so it'll just be somewhat different. It's so friggin' silly. Shut up, phone. It's so friggin' silly, but it would just be so funny to me. And I'm probably the person who would derive the most amusement from it, to be honest. I imagine you guys will just be like, is this really it? But still, I really want to do it, but I need help from you guys. Anyone who has an idea of subreddits on Reddit where I can go and find paranormal stories that people share, like that they've experienced, but like fun ones, not just all doom and gloom. Like, I would love some scary ones as well, but also some really fun ones as well. So if anyone's got any recommendations for good subreddits for that, please let me know, because I can find all the really super spooky serious ones, but I also want some kind of ones where people are like, yeah, the ghost was trolling me for a week, I don't know, doing something really silly, and it was really scary at the time, but now I look back and it was really funny. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. I would really love some recommendations for stuff like that, because yeah, I think it'd just be really fun, and I really want to do a really fun Halloween sort of special video. But yeah, let me know if anyone can help me with that. I'd be so grateful. Other than that, if you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, maybe even a little share, perhaps. That would be your initiation into the cult of void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye. I have still not quite got my voice back properly, by the way. So yeah. Please ignore the absolute piss poor attempts at doing my little high-pitched voices in the introduction and at the end. It's not working well.